Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 5 Million Milestone podcast. Our guest today is Jill Fox. Jill is a marketing consultant for small businesses in various professional service sectors. She's the co-owner of Fox Social Media, where she's involved in managing the social media and advertising for her clients. She's a passionate teacher about business and online marketing and hosts the Simple Marketing Academy show on YouTube. It's going to be an incredible conversation that we think you're all going to enjoy. We appreciate you tuning in and make sure to subscribe to the show. And without further ado, I want to welcome Jill to the show. Hi, Jill. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's very good. We are thrilled to have you join us today. And to kick things off, let's dive right into the evolution of social media, especially in the business world. As someone who works closely with professional service companies, specifically in regulated industries, I'm curious about the unique challenges they face when adopting to the ever-changing social media landscape. How do you really see these challenges differ from what we see in other industries?
I think one of the biggest challenges, and your audience might find this interesting, is not being boring. When you talk about industries like finance and accounting and sometimes law, they're not sexy or interesting or exciting industries. So what do you post? That's one of the issues. The other, I think, is just, if you know your regulations, you can work around them. So if you have an understanding of what those regulations are, it's not difficult to work around them. But I think that the other thing is coming up with content. So what kind of content do I produce? What do I put out there? What are people going to be interested in? So I think those are the two biggest things. And one of the things I've found that I can say right now is people. That's what people are interested in. So interestingly enough, across the board for my clients, no matter what industry they're in, if I post something that shows their staff faces from their company, it by far across the board will do the best. The only thing that ever beats it's a job posting when we have a job opening, but that is by far the best thing you can do.
That's clear. Obviously, when it comes to professional service companies, they have to be particularly mindful of how they present themselves on social media, like you said, given the nature of the industry and the expectations of their clients. Speaking of expectations, the rise of platforms, especially like LinkedIn, maybe Twitter a bit less for professional service companies, has changed the way businesses network and build relationships with other companies. What are your thoughts on how these platforms have impacted professional service companies specifically?
Well, and like you just said, I'm going to agree with exactly what you said. Yeah, Twitter, not as much. Twitter's wonderful for an athlete, a celebrity, the local fire department, anything that where the message has to be right now, or people want to know every move you make, like a celebrity. So for professional services companies, I have two of my clients on Twitter, and quite frankly, it's only because they've always been on there, and I've been working with them for one, I think 8 years, and one like 6 years. So the new companies I don't put on Twitter. I don't think it's worth the time and effort. I think there's other things to do. LinkedIn is a gold mine. LinkedIn is by far my favorite platform. If you're business to business, whether you're professional services or regulated or not, LinkedIn is just an absolute gold mine for B2B companies. And I think it gives you the chance to reach your ideal clients. So one of the things that you want to do when you are on LinkedIn as a professional service company is determine who's going to be the face of your company, because you need an individual profile to work this way. So for instance, I'll give you a few examples. So one, I work with a company that does CME training for physicians and medical professionals, and they hold conferences. So our executive director is the face of the brand on LinkedIn. We use LinkedIn's advanced people search, which means I go on there and I say, okay, our next conference is in Salt Lake City. So right now I want to start connecting the executive director to doctors who are in Salt Lake City and have their own practice. So that's what I do, maybe 100 at a time, and just sending out those connection requests. I've been doing this for him for maybe about 6 years, maybe a little bit longer, and he's just about to hit 30,000 legit LinkedIn connections. Legit, meaning they are his actual ideal clients and customers. Now, this didn't happen overnight. It's slow, but it's been amazing. Those people begin to follow you. They begin to see what you post. So the other thing, in addition to those connections, is to make sure that you are posting consistently and you're posting things people are interested in. Are you going to get it right every time? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But there are free and easy to read analytics on each social media platform, LinkedIn included. So you'll look at those and you'll say, oh, wow, my post about, let's say we're talking about this same medical education company. My post about breast cancer is off the charts. My post about ABC other disease or thing that I posted didn't gain as much interest. So now I'm going to post other information about breast cancer. I'm going to do other things that may be of interest to that group of people, to my ideal clients who hopefully are the ones that are following me on LinkedIn. The other thing with LinkedIn is their ads are really good. So it's a great ad platform as well. And it used to be, when I first started, I never used it because it was about 10 times the cost of Facebook. And they're really not much different now at all. So on LinkedIn, let's go back to the medical education company. Now, what I want to do is get those ads out to both our email list, which you can upload to LinkedIn and make sure people on your email list see your ad if you want to. You can also choose your demographics. So I go back in and say, okay, show this ad to physicians and medical professionals in Salt Lake City, and I want to make sure they're aware of our upcoming conference. So I'm going to hit them with that ad a few times. LinkedIn is there. The one thing I will also say about LinkedIn is when you make connection requests, I don't always recommend sending a message with it. And you're going to, people are going to roll their eyes and say, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And here's why. I run the LinkedIn for, oh my gosh, I don't know. I see probably 10 executives LinkedIn, meaning I have to read their messages, and 99% of them are garbage. They're unsolicited sales pitches, which, by the way, you never have to answer. Don't feel obligated. Don't waste your time. Ignore it. But you still have to seek out those good messages in there, those legit, decent messages. And you want to make sure you're always answering people other than unsolicited sales pitches. Don't waste your time. But you want to answer. You want to make sure you thank people for sharing anything, for commenting, answer their questions. You always want to make sure you are being responsive and continuing conversation that someone has on LinkedIn. So I hope that answers your question. I could go on for an hour, but I'll stop there.
I guess one question that I'm pretty sure a lot of people listening to this episode are going to have is, do I need to post through my company profile, or would I have to have, I think you hinted a bit about this, you want to have at least one sort of representative or spokesperson within the company to sort of be posting on a regular basis on LinkedIn. Should that message be reposted from the company page? Are there any benefits from doing that, or should simply the person, being sort of maybe the owner or the marketing director of the company, be the sole person posting on LinkedIn on behalf of the company? And my follow-up to that would be also how many times per week? You said a few times a week. Would that mean twice a week, 3 times a week, 5 times a week? What could a company starting out today aim to sort of look at in terms of frequency of posting on LinkedIn specifically?
Okay, so first of all, if you're starting out today, maybe 3 times a week is good, and it's more the quality of your posts than the quantity, but you also have to be consistent. So as far as the face of the company, like we talked about, what I usually recommend is that the company page posts. You post to the company page, then you have the team share it. So let's go over to we share a common client. Pronto and I share a common client, and this client is in the accounting industry, and this client gets their clients by partnering with very large organizations who they basically have solutions to implement their products, if that makes sense. So they're not going out there using social so much for gaining clients. So 2 things here. One is everybody needs to have a good, decent presence on social media, because even a situation like this client I talked about, people are going to check them out. If they're not there, that really takes away from any confidence people have built in the company. They're antiquated. They're not up to date. Wow, are they real? Are they a decent company? I don't care what your situation, you still got to be there. Even if you tell me I don't get my clients there, your clients will check you out there. Number 2, this company is growing so quickly that they need to recruit. So they use social media for recruiting purposes. So although on LinkedIn, many of the posts are still business related, many of our posts are also showing our team, showing the team. It's somebody's anniversary for working for the company, not wedding anniversary. Our team is at such and such a conference. So we do all of those things on there as well. Ideally, you post to the company page. In the case of my medical company, I'm only sharing it to the executive director's page. In the case of the accounting firm, we share it to 3 of the top pages, so people's pages, but not at the same time. So here's what happens. So today is Friday, okay? And I've just posted Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So on my Friday post goes on the one person's page today. My Wednesday post goes on one person's page today, and my Monday post goes on one person's page today. So the only one who's reposting from the company page on the same exact day is the principal, the main principal of the company, if that makes sense. So we're spreading out the message. It's not long enough that it's irrelevant, but we are spreading it out. In addition, with this company, what we do is we try to bring in the whole team. Now, a couple important things for people to know here. Number 1, you've got to make sure that you've got a social media authorization in your employment contracts. I have them. I've given them to my new clients if they don't. So what you're doing is you're getting your team to say, yes, you can use my likeness, my voice, my image on social media. And it also says I don't get paid for this. That's an important part to have in it as well. So make sure you have this. Number 2, it's completely voluntary. There are wonderful, wonderful employees who are not comfortable with social media, and that is okay. And that needs to be okay. So you're asking your team, you're saying, okay, team, if you're comfortable, can you please reshare these posts or reshare the posts that resonate with you or are from your department? In addition to that, I will send an email through our HR director. So I'm basically writing it, she approves it, and she sends it out on my behalf saying, hey, can you, hey, everybody, just a reminder, we have these, please follow us here. If you use social, please share our posts. Here's what's happening, and a little blurb about why. So that kind of reminds them, encourages them, tells them what they do is important as well.
And Jill, this is quite interesting to hear that you're actually working with the HR person, because you don't necessarily think of
Mm-hmm.
HR as sort of the people who are necessarily
Mm-hmm.
doing the marketing. But I guess because LinkedIn is such an important piece of the recruiting um, process of the company, that's why HR is involved. Is it because they use LinkedIn for their own recruiting efforts, and is it because you're really posting about recruiting, or is it because as a company policy, this is something that made sense to be led by HR, or HR to sort of co-sponsor perhaps?
Well, for as far as HR goes, so that's I communicate through the employees through HR. That's their process, and it's a good process. They have a great setup. So anything that goes from me to the employees, like those emails, go through HR. HR, I also work closely with in job postings. So we'll create a graphic and a post when there's a new job coming out. I also work with her on company anniversaries, new hires, all of those type of things. So with HR, that's what I'm doing. Now, you just gave me an opportunity to talk about the other platforms a little. Okay, let's use this accounting firm.
Mm-hmm.
So LinkedIn is our business stuff. Our foo-foo stuff doesn't go on LinkedIn. Our foo-foo stuff goes on Instagram. And what I mean by that is anything that's, it is, okay, for instance, they have a pet of the month. I don't need that on LinkedIn, but
Yeah.
it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook. So Instagram's the foo-foo stuff. Facebook's my catch-all. Facebook is really broad. So on Facebook, it gets everything from Instagram and everything from LinkedIn. You can kind of do that with Facebook. So it kind of shows the big picture of everything. Instagram is the, Merry Christmas, talking about Memorial Day today is Memorial Day in the United States. And it is talking about congratulations to ABC person on their new baby or their wedding or those kind of things. Where LinkedIn is happy 2-year company anniversary, or it is showing people at conferences, or it is, this person just did training somewhere. This particular company is very philanthropic as well. So we will post when they support charities, we will post that on LinkedIn as well as the other two platforms.
Mm-hmm.
That's to me, that's vitally important for a company as well, and important to share.
Yeah, no, that makes sense that different platforms are sort of better suited for different messages, and sort
Mm-hmm.
of trying to, you know, be strategic about that. And actually sort of, I mean, you gave sort of two very different company types, right? The medical education company and the
Mm-hmm.
accounting firm. And it sounds like you have two very different kind of business goals in both
Right.
with those two companies. Um, I mean, I think the common thread here is sort of creating a human connection, and the fact that LinkedIn or even Instagram is really helpful to build a brand in sort of with a human sort of light. Sort of how do those two different strategies came about? And if you kind of rewind before you really kind of start posting and all of that, were people sort of bought into into that strategy, or were they like, oh, no one will ever want to connect with me through LinkedIn to get to go to a medical education event and buy a ticket? This is the wrong way to go to market. What was that an easy conversation? Was there a fight back? Fight back, or just kind of curious.
Um, so it depends on the company. One of my companies, there's two principles. One is absolutely brilliant. I mean, they're both intelligent. One is just brilliant and very, very left brain. So marketing, not of any interest to this individual at all. Luckily, the other person it is of interest to gets it, totally sees the big picture. Most of my clients come to me because they do not know anything about marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I will go through and make suggestions, and they usually will say, okay, do it, try it. They give me the budgets, those things. They tell me what, particular things we're pushing, like a conference or the medical. They may have they also have online courses. Maybe that's what we want you to focus on this month. Those kind of things. But the conversation is not difficult when you can explain, show the process, and you've been doing it for a while too. I think that is helpful. So we have a full process. Usually we start small. When you're taking on a new company, you don't want to overwhelm them all at once. So you're starting with, you might be starting with LinkedIn. If you're, B2B, you're 100% starting with LinkedIn. Well, we're just organically posting. Okay, we'll try ads a little bit here now. So very often I am building the social media from scratch. I'm always optimizing it. The first thing I'll do when I get a new client is go in there and see what they have. I'll make recommendations on their website, not a web developer, but I'll make recommendations like, you need to make sure that people know who you are or what you sell, who it's for, and the outcome of using your product or service. And all that needs to be above the fold. That kind of thing is what I'll tell them. I can't do what you guys do. So, but I make those suggestions, and then the developer can do those things. The next thing I will do is make sure that we've got a significant amount of posts. So you never start ads when you've got, let's say, hey, I have 3 Facebook posts. I'm going to run ads. Not right now. Let's get you up, 10, 12. Let's get a few things up there and strategically work on those first posts, as far as they're going to be a lot about the company, what you do, your product. And these are not normally things you would have all in there right off the bat, your staff, things like that. So you want to get that done before you start working with ads. So, but yeah, normally most of the people come to me because they're completely out of their element when it comes to marketing. And the first thing I tell them is, it's okay. It's a full-time job. I have to learn every day because they keep changing the dang stuff. And I have to stay up with it. And I can't do what my clients do. And so that's the first thing I say to them. I can't even begin to do what you do. So don't ever feel like that. It's all good.
Right. And another thing that's, interesting in what you talked about was, not going straight to the ads. And I think that's often the temptation, right? To, go straight to doing advertising because you equate that with getting, leads and new business as fast as possible. And, that's what advertising is, advertising itself as. But like you said, if you haven't taken the time to sort of do that groundwork, you're kind of bringing an audience to sort of an unoptimized environment. And so, we're talking about sort of smaller businesses that, have 10, 20 employees. And, for that kind of business, it takes a lot of time to sort of build that social media presence. And how do they deal with that level of comfort, or should I say discomfort, of taking time to build that presence? And how do you get people to sort of adhere to that program?
That's such a good question. And I think that getting people to buy in is about starting slowly and showing them the progress. So what I do, for instance, for the accounting firm is we do a monthly report, and it doesn't just go to the principals, it goes to the entire management team. So everybody that's in charge of a department sees all this information. And it's things like, we look at followers a little bit, but is followers really that important? No, especially for this company. We do want to grow followers. I shouldn't say it that way. But for this particular company, we want engagement. We want people, commenting and liking, and we want messages on the posts and that kind of thing more than we want followers. So engagement is more important for them. So when they start to see that kind of thing, and when I show them, one of the great things I show this company is, hey guys, look at your YouTube channel, which we can talk about later, but we started that as well. So look at your YouTube channel. By far and away, consistently, over month, the best performing content are the short videos your staff made. So in the beginning, I had the staff make videos, they all work at home. They're all remote. And they're just, they're in, like I am right now. I'm in my, which you can't tell, but I'm in my little office, my home office. And the videos are them. Hi, I'm so-and-so. This is what my job is. These are the things I work on. I always have them say personal things that they're comfortable with. For instance, when I'm not working, I'm volunteering with this charity, spending time with my wife and kids, they might say, or, they might say, I'm a crazy, I don't know, here, I'll use me. I'm a crazy Anaheim Ducks fan, for sports. I kayak. I'm an artist. I do a lot of artwork on the side, anything like that. And as you can see, everything I just said does not pertain to the company at all. However, people work with people. They buy from people. They don't buy from a company so much. And those people are the face of the company. And if you can show your clients, or in their case, other people who may be applying for the job, how great your personality is, how nice you are, how, kind of easygoing, how smart you are, what you're talking about, and just kind of fun and interesting, that cuts down the time it takes people to get to know, like, and trust you way down, cuts it way down. And it works so well. And as I said, time after time, our best posts, and across platforms, this includes LinkedIn, by the way. This is when I do this report for them, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, we've got LinkedIn, we've got YouTube. Across platform, without exception, the best performing content is their people.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think we tend to see that in ads we've run as well. So quite consistent.
Yeah, it's fair to say that social media, really, the use of social media for B2B companies, I would say mostly B2B companies, isn't really to generate leads. Rather, is to build that reputation as a company and humanizing the company as much as possible, particularly for companies that work remotely across the country or across the globe, where it's hard to meet in person. And it's really more about showing that behind the website there are, actual people working, even though maybe everybody is spread out across different states, maybe speaking different languages. All these type of things really make a company come alive. And then the byproduct of that is really that some people that follow you may end up becoming paying customers down the line. But I guess the reason really also I think that social media advertising may be a double-edged sword is really because when you go on social media, you aren't really looking to get sold, but you're mostly trying to get entertained in a way, or learn more about a certain company, what a company does, what a company stands for, but not really to get sold on services or products right away. Would you agree with that? And if yes, what's your experience with customers coming to you, clients coming to you, wanting to use social media sort of more aggressively, if that ever happens?
I think you're absolutely right, and I think the bottom line is, like you said, people buy from people. People buy from people, and it's all about the humans. And so, the other side of that is it takes you'll hear 100 different numbers, 7 touches before somebody's going to buy from you, meaning they need to see, hear, read about you 7 times before they'll make a decision. So if you think about that, the first 6 or so times they're seeing you, they're not going to buy. So if you're constantly selling, that's a bad thing. It's such a turnoff. It's like what I was talking about with those LinkedIn messages. Oh my gosh, people stop. And I love when people say to me, "Oh no, I have the best message. Mine works, or I got a great message," and they tell me, I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen that about 700 times." You don't want, it's stuff you don't want to hear. You're not interested in. So that's where you are using your organic social usually to get that message out. Now you've got to also talk about your industry on LinkedIn, especially. You've got to post. Ideally, you want to this particular client we share in common has a blog. Getting it written is a challenge because the team is so busy and they're growing. But at least we have probably, I don't know, 25 or so. So each month I can go back and share one, pending and nothing's changed. So that they're you just kind of go back and share an old one. The other thing you can share is information from other companies. Ideally, you want to have your own comment or your own spin on it. So if you're sharing a post, you put a comment at the top. That's not always going to happen. And the ideal doesn't usually happen. That doesn't mean you don't do it. That means you do it as best you can. So for instance, if I can't get those comments, which I can't usually, I'm going to share this information anyway on there without it. Like I said, the ideal doesn't happen. You don't sit back, you don't wait, you don't, in my case, I'm, running the social media. I don't sit and wait for someone to tell me what to do. Or if they said, hey, we've got a post, we want you to share this post next, we'll send it to you, and they don't, well, guess what? Something else jumps in that slot because I can't just sit there and twiddle my thumbs. So, and then it goes up when I do get that post from them. But the LinkedIn ads or Facebook ads are still important in that we want to reach. So for instance, we go back to the medical client. That's one. Or we go back here. I have another client that's an attorney and he has 15 attorneys in his practice and he has 6 practice areas. So his ads, we consistently run ads for him. Now his website's amazing. We've been doing social media for years and years and years and years. Now this particular client, I don't get anything from. There's no blog. However, there's a lot on the website, so I can utilize everything on the website. So I am sharing outside posts and other things. Ads for him are a constant. And for instance, this particular attorney does divorce law. So our divorce law ad shows a couple, but it's also saying like, this is really hard and we know it's hard and we're here for you. And we've been helping people for X number of years. If you just want to talk to us, we're happy to answer. I'm paraphrasing, but basically, even if you just want to ask us a question, let us know and we'll answer it for you, kind of thing. That's kind of our ad. It's not the ones you see on TV, you got hit by a truck, you got to call me now, the guy stomping his fists and where it's almost like it's comical because it's so over the top. And maybe apparently that works in that industry, but for this particular industry where he's dealing with a very difficult and sensitive topic, we approach in the ads the people going through this in a caring way, in a way that builds confidence in the business. So anyway, to answer that question, a long-winded answer, it is still important to get those ads out there. Right. So ads are still important. In some cases, we don't run them for the accounting firm. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So
going back quickly on the types of posts that a company can publish on their company profile, what would you say are the sort of the most important? We said we touched on the personal sort of stories of employees at the company, maybe resharing other companies' content or posts that are relevant to their industry, with maybe a personal comment on it, sort of to give your personal idea on that particular post. What are the types of posts should companies consider publishing? And maybe as a follow-up, so I'll let you answer to both of these questions. How much of this work is proactive and how much of this is reactive? Sort of things are happening during the week and, somebody just decides I'm going to write about this because it's very relevant, it's very topical, and I want people to, to know about this just right now. And how much instead has been planned sort of weeks or months in advance?
So as far as that goes, it's in my industry. Now, if you're a news station, you're totally, reactive all the time, and you have to be, that's your job. But in the companies that I work with, professional services, it's always proactive. We're planning ahead. We're scheduling. I actually use a scheduling platform. But if somebody says, I need this up, very often I'll get the HR manager of this accounting firm to say, oh gosh, I totally forgot today is so-and-so's anniversary. That goes up too. Or if it's another informational post and we haven't posted today, I just reschedule the one that was scheduled there. You are always proactive with the ability to change and react. And sometimes you're posting twice. I've had to post 3 times some days because there's that much information that's time sensitive that needs to go out. And I'm so sorry. Tell me the first question again.
Yeah, the types of content that people, companies, yes.
Yes. Okay. So types of content, and I hope this is okay to say. So I have a free list of 150 post ideas for businesses, and it's on my website, which is foxsocialmedia.com. It's above the fold. You'll see it. There's a little button. You just click it and you can get them. But it's 50 for small businesses, 50 for product-based businesses, and 50 for service-based businesses. So there's 150, a fewer, crossover. But this is, go get it, because this list is really good and comprehensive. But it also jogs your kicks your brain into gear, and you start thinking of all the things that also work for your own company. So go to, if that's okay to say, go to foxsocialmedia.com, above the fold, get it. It's free. So there are things like, obviously, industry news. If you are we won't get into the brick and mortar. We'll talk more about the professional services. So if you're professional services, we talked about your team, what you do, your volunteer work, super important. And, your professional services, but you're based somewhere. You do have an office. You can talk about things in your community. Hey, it's opening day of Major League Baseball. So I'll say, good luck to Anaheim Angels, as you can tell from Orange County, California, or was. So things like that are important too. And you want to shout out, anything your employees are doing, your industry, interesting. You can do little memes because people love these things. They love memes, and just make sure they're appropriate. Basically, would you show it to your grandmother? I think most of us have a decent sense of what's right and wrong. And working in regulated industries, it's important to know the rules. But if you do the right damn thing in life and in business, it's always going to be a positive. Karma's real. Kick you in the butt if you do. Boy, have I seen a few examples lately of people who do the wrong thing getting kicked in the butt. And it's just do the right thing. And I think that, what comes around goes around. So I think if you treat people really well, you're honest, be honest. And if you make a mistake on something, say, I am so sorry, you're right. Let me fix that. It's really important to be upfront. And guess what? People know that others make mistakes. They know that. It's all how you react and how you correct that. That's important. Now, you can't make 100 of them. That's not going to work. But if there's 1 or 2 here or there, it is okay. The other thing that brings up, and I know this is a little change of subject, but that's really important, are reviews. So with reviews, there's a few things that I would love to share with your audience. One is, I am personally not a fan of Yelp. I have seen too many what I think are unethical moves on their part that have impacted my clients across the board for years. And I don't recommend that you deal with Yelp. So I recommend Google. And there's a few reasons. One, I think they handle the reviews better than a lot. And 2 is that Google is the biggest search engine in the world. So if somebody goes on looking for an accounting firm, and they want that accounting firm to be in, let's say Nashville, Tennessee, then, if you've got a lot of good reviews on there, guess who pops up? So it's important to claim your Google business page. It's free. Completely fill it out with as much as you can. Ask for reviews and ask for them on Google. The other thing you need to know, this is really important, do not let anyone ever leave you a review while they're in your place of business. Google knows it's your IP address, they know it's your location, and the review won't show up. So make sure they're going home and doing that. The other side of that is for a professional service company who's maybe like, the other place. Okay, my second place to leave them is LinkedIn. So if you have an individual where you're going to say, somebody says to you, oh my gosh, Susie in your X division did such a great job. You can say, it would be awesome if you left Susie a review on LinkedIn. So personal ones, LinkedIn is where you want them. Company ones, you want them on Google. And they are very important.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. The reviews are, essentially the best way to get the proof in the pudding, because a lot of the professional services firms out there are saying, oh, we've got the best customer support or customer service team, but that's just you saying it. And then the reviews really help that come alive. And then I think that that's sort of a great way to sort of feed both your website actually with that kind of testimonial that sort of you can kind of link back to, as well as your social media profile, and then kind of leveraging those and sort of trying to repost those reviews or share them through your different social profiles. I don't know if those are sort of the types of strategies you kind of take and expand upon on. But one of the things I was kind of curious as well is, we talked about kind of taking the time to plan, having a clear strategy to, kind of really kind of build that brand online and, show what the brand stands for, help them recruit. And, after you've kind of got that sort of initial vision for the social media strategy, what are sort of key first steps in kind of getting started? And, I think you said you worked with sort of the managing directors and sort of the head of the company. How do you get those kind of other employees kind of going? Are there any key steps that you tend to follow?
Well, I think as far as getting started, we talked about what I do. So, what I'll do is, and what anyone should do is take a look online, and basically you're Googling and you're finding all the social media, all the references to the company. Very often there are social media accounts that the owner or the head of the company doesn't even know about. So let's say Joey intern created it a long time ago. We got to get those down. We've either got to get control or get them down. So that's one of the first things we do. We set up the social media. And one of the other things I recommend is using your company name across the board. If it's not taken or too long, no dots, no dashes, no junk, just your company name. So mine, across the board is Fox Social Media. And I try to stay with that. Sometimes it's taken, you can't, but it makes it so much easier for people to find you, make your username the same. But I think, once you go do that, then you're deciding what you're going to use, what platforms, you're optimizing those platforms, and you're getting started posting. And your strategy will grow. So this is something you're going to start with what you think is the best. You're going to say, what are my goals? So, the accounting firm, our goal is to get the best accountants we can to work for us. The medical firm, our goal is to get people to come to our conference and buy our online courses. Then I have the attorney. He wants to get people to use his services. I've had a finance company where their goal, they would do they would sell business, like a mergers acquisitions type firm. Their goal was to get in front of the people who are going to be needing their services and get them comfortable, get them to work with them. So we need to know what the goals are. Then we create the plan, execute the plan. And I think getting the team on board, it's really important for me to introduce myself. Here's what I do. I've been doing this for a long time. I really want your input. And I really mean it when I say that. I want your input. Please, if you see something, tell me. Send me pictures. Tell me what else should be posted. You guys are the pros. I really want your input. And the ones who like social media will come forward. They'll be the one. Not everyone will, and not everyone's a social media person. So, but the ones who are will come forward, and they'll help you, and they'll give you information, and you make that I want to make it like, look, if you ever see something that's not right, I give them my email and my cell, whatever's easier, text or email me. And if you see something, we'll fix it immediately. It's a two-way street. It's not I'm going to tell you what to do. It's hey, if you have this two-way street, you're going to get way better information. You're going to do a way better job. So it's very non-threatening. I'm not forcing them. I'm just saying, if you're a social media person, if you're comfortable, and I'm touching base with them a few times a year, just a few times a year. I don't want to be annoying, but I still want to pop it in front of their head again. And then they might, just kind of get it in their head again that they can participate and help with all of this. So, that's another area that, where the staff is so important, and it's important for them to know that, I guess.
We touched on a lot on strategies, how to get started, what posts to publish. I guess one thing that would be interesting to know is how then we measure all this. What are the primary KPIs that we should be looking at, and how often we should be looking at these numbers, and what these numbers will tell us about our future sort of strategies and how we want to continue sort of presenting the company on different social media platforms.
Okay. And so ROI is difficult to calculate in many cases. And just to preface this by saying, so Google had a huge change in the way they operate. And so basically they changed their privacy settings, and so people can opt out. So what happens in those cases is that, let's say somebody, somebody clicks a link in your ad and is taken to a page on Google, let's say taken to your business page on Google. Well, there can be a loss there where let's say the Facebook ad, Facebook says, oh, you got a click. And Google says, oh, this person came in, to your Google page, but we don't know how. You see, so that makes it a little tough where you're there's a disconnect. Now, we can solve that in a lot of cases, and here's how. So, first of all, what the things you're looking for when you're doing social media and you're doing organic, that means you're just posting, you're not paying for it. So organic social media, you are going to look at a few things. You're going to look at your Google Analytics. That's a free tool you can connect to your website. That's a free tool. You guys can connect to the website. I can't, I don't do that. I don't do that part. So, but yeah, there's a free tool connected to your website that gives you a lot of great information about the website visitors, about the content they look at as well. So it will tell you things like, are they male or female? What age group are they in? What country are they coming from? Or what city if they're in the US? Where are they coming from? So, again, I just was saying we kind of lose sometimes where they're coming from. That can't always be tracked if they have certain privacy settings, but we can look at the few that keep their privacy settings open, and we can look at the trends. So even though we can't see every single individual, we look at the trends there. Now, once they're in your website, we can figure out these. You now kind of own that traffic. So you can look at Google Analytics and say, oh my gosh, look at this. This post by far did the best on my website, or this page was visited the most on my website. I got the most comments if you have comments enabled on this blog post. You can look at all kinds of things. You can even look at a tree, essentially, with branches that says, okay, they came in. What page did they start on your website? If they came in through your homepage, well, that tells you one thing. If they came in through your a particular blog post, well, that's another, right? Because they had to have found that somewhere. So even if we can't track, odds are that came off of social media. They're coming through that blog post. And then we can say, where did they go next? Did they leave the website, or did they go from blog post? I want to read another blog post. Okay, then they went and looked at About Us. They wanted to learn more about your company. So these are very interesting details you can learn. And you've got to look at all this information to continue to tweak your marketing. Now, when you're talking about social media sites all have free analytics. Google Analytics is free, or GA4 it is now. And social media sites analytics are free, and they're a godsend because they'll tell you the same type of information. And when you go in there and you go, okay, hey, on Facebook, the post about us working with a particular charity was by far the most liked post this month, or had the most comments, had the most engagement. Or you can say, oh gosh, look at this, it's our job posting, which that's gonna usually top the list if it's a really good job, and you post that. But you're going to look at those things and see who is your audience. Maybe you thought your audience was 20-year-olds, and you look at the analytics and you're like, okay, our audience is 35-year-olds to 40-year-olds. Wow, that's a surprise. We thought our audience was all women, but look, it's women and men. More women, but here's men in here too. We thought our audience was all local, but look at this. There's a huge influx from Seattle, Washington that are looking at our information. So you start to build a picture in your head of who is our ideal client. It looks like the ideal client is this age, is this gender, is from this area. And then you start to put all the pieces together and you tweak your marketing around that particular individual. And then your ads and your posts and things are created with that person in mind. So it helps you to, know your audience / hopefully your ideal clients. Those people are, and it helps you to know what content resonates the best so that you can not copy, replicate something else. Is the post, we talked about breast cancer. Is it because we talked about breast cancer awareness and we talked about, screening? Is screening. So should we do a post about colon cancer screening? Or should we do another post about breast cancer, the trends in treatment? So you see how you can go in a couple different directions. So you've got to try a few things and see what resonates. The other thing you need to know is you can have an ad that kills it, just kills it. And it can poop out in like a week or two. It can be what they call stale. So you may have to change that up. I've had one particular ad go for 3 or 4 years. Very unusual, and still have good numbers before I had to change it. So you're reading all this information. You're kind of looking at, and you said the key things to look at when it comes to the analytics. How do I know something's doing well? When you're going in your analytics, you look at something called impressions, and that is how many times your particular post showed on a feed. Now, I don't want to say how many times people saw it, because you know how it goes. Scroll, 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 scroll. And how many times did people actually see it? Did it scroll right past their eyes? Were they scrolling and looking over here at something, or talking to someone, not paying attention? But how many times it was there? So that's the impressions. You're also going to look at clicks, and clicks can be anywhere. Somebody clicked on the link in the ad. Somebody clicked on the image in a post. So it can mean a few different things. So that showed one more level of interest. Hey, let me learn a little more. Then the next thing you want to look at is called engagement. And engagement means they've liked it or clicked any of those little icons. It can be the hate one too, or the mad, or whatever it is. It could be anything. That's engagement. Sharing a post is engagement, and commenting on a post is engagement. So it is very important to comment back, even on negative comments, to comment back and not be defensive, and just say, hey, can you direct message me so I can call you? And if you do call the person, you go back on there and you say, I'm so glad we were able to take care of this. If you need anything else, you know how to reach me, kind of thing. All that does is tell the rest of the world we solved the issue. Yeah, that's a long-winded answer to that, but I hope that makes sense and explains it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when we started the conversation, you also talked about one of your clients who has now like 30,000
Mhm.
connections now. That's an incredible kind of achievement. How long did it take to get that? And was that even the goal initially, or did that just sort of end up happening over time? And before you knew it, he had that many connections.
Um, that was the goal, was to build them, but it was years. I mean, I've been working with him for 6 years. So to get up to like 28,000, it was probably 5 years or so. Now, one thing to know is that if you try to send out too many, LinkedIn's going to slap your hand and say, nope, you're done for now, essentially. And if you listen and you stop right there, they're not going to penalize you. It's not an issue. So I basically think if I'm not getting my hand slapped, I probably haven't sent out enough this week, or,
Mhm.
this month, or whatever it is. So that wasn't necessarily the goal. There was no set number. We just kept doing it. Now, this is, like I said, this is a 5-year thing. This is not, no marketing is fast. Nothing is fast.
Well, just to kind of quickly recap kind of what we talked about, it's really sort of start small, build a plan, take the time to build that plan, know your audience, don't underestimate the human connection. And I think whether you're in a highly regulated industry or kind of B2B type company, like you said, people buy from people. I think that can be true, and you see it so many times in a lot of the customer reviews that professional services firm, they always mention the customer service rep, and that's such a big factor. Instead of trying to really promote those people, whether you're trying to recruit or trying to sort of put out there a thought leadership program, it's just going to pay dividends in the long run in building your company's brand and authority online. So yeah, thanks so much for sharing all those great tips. And yeah, if there's any further resources you want to share with our audience before we wrap up, yeah,
Well,
please go ahead.
okay. And I know you had asked me about books. So actually, I have to cheat here and look at my list. I wrote some down. Um, so if it's okay to say, I have a podcast and a YouTube channel, and they're called Simple Marketing Academy. So Simple Marketing Academy is the training arm of my business, Fox Social Media. Um, we also just released an ebook series, social media ebook series. They're on ebook and audiobook, and it's all on my website, which is foxsocialmedia.com. You can find everything there, as well as that free list if you wanted of post ideas. That's right on the above the fold, right on the top page. So foxsocialmedia.com is how to find me. There's other books that I love. So if you're new to business, there's a book called Will It Fly by Pat Flynn, and
Mm-hmm.
it's awesome. It goes through all the steps you need to take to kind of vet your idea, your business idea. That's one. There's another one called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And that goes into more detail kind of about what we talked about. It's the story. It's, why did I start this business? Why am I passionate about what I do? Those are important things. What's the story behind the product? What's the story behind the team? There are companies that have started up and they hire all people that are on the autism spectrum, and they do a tremendous job. And so there's a story in most companies, and it's how to tell that. There's one called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And that is good for somebody who's so right brain like me that I can literally go in 18 directions at once. And it's, wait a minute, my brain, if you ask me a marketing question, is in 50 places, and I could talk to you for obviously like 3 hours. So this kind of brings it all into focus. What should you focus on? How to focus on, how to make lists of what's going to help you, and how to develop those focusing goals, I guess, and habits. Profit First by Mike Michalowicz talks about always taking a profit from your business first, and that should be the first thing. And he kind of explains how to do it, how to work with the other costs in your business, how to determine what you need and what you don't need in your business. And another good one. There's another one called Ask by Ryan Levesque, where he kind of teaches you how to ask the right questions to get the information you need, whether it be for your marketing, for your products, for your research, whatever it is. And then I love this one, jab, 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 right hook, which is Gary Vaynerchuk, because as a born New Yorker, I love the tell it like it is stuff. And he's just really makes a simple description of how to get a sale, so I think those are really good. I've read so many, but those are the ones I think I really liked, and they serve a purpose for business owners.
Yeah,
Awesome.
beautiful recommendations, Jill. I'll definitely check out a few of them. I've been following Pat Flynn for many years, but have never read his book, so I'll probably pick it up sometime soon. Yeah, thank you so much. Well, thank you, Jill, for joining us today. Your knowledge and the information you've shared with us has been incredibly valuable. And to all our listeners, I hope today's conversation has inspired you to take a closer look at your own social media strategies and explore how you can leverage these tools to grow your professional service company. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more insights like this, and feel free to reach out with any questions or topic you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, keep striving towards that 5 million milestone. Bye.